Hi, my name is Alexandra Laplante, and today I'm going to be debating against Émilie Daou on a controversial question. Should Quebec separate from Canada? The separation of Quebec is a very controversial issue in Canada, but why? Some people, such as those who live in Quebec, believe that our province should separate from Canada. A little percent of people believe that their province will be better off on its own as a country, and they're right. All the Quebecers has certainly asked themselves in their life if they are for the separation of Quebec. Have you already asked yourself that question? The majority of our society seems to not like that idea, but do they really have a valid argument? We can look back and remember the second referendum in 1995 with 49% of yeses and 50% of noes. This proves that this debate has been going on for a long time, and it is important to look over those facts. We can't ignore this high percentage of people who wanted to become independent. Why would the population of Quebec won't become a country? There are several benefits for the Quebec to separate from Canada, and we're going to see them in the following debate. Maybe I'll change your mind or reinforce your feeling of independence. First of all, Quebec should separate from Canada because it is a question of preserving our French language. If Quebec were to separate, there would be no more disputes over the French and English language spoken in Canada. The sovereignty would bring an official language not disguised in the Canadian bilingualism. It would also bring a Quebec citizenship, which would replace the Canadian one. As well, the integration of the immigrants and their steps to learn French would be more pursued and reinforced. The Canadian ideology of a multiculturalism and bilingualism does not suit the situation in Quebec. As long as Quebec is a part of Canada, the French language will be vulnerable. From 1951 to 2011, the total of francophones in Quebec has passed from 29% to 21%. This reduces the political impact between the Federation and the future of our language. Do you think it is normal for the province that the proportion of French people is decreasing more and more? Soon, French will be forgotten and English will be the main linguistic code spoken. Let's not neglect our beautiful language and keep our Quebec unique. Secondly, I disagree with Emily's thoughts because I think that it is not a bad thing that Quebec will be seen as a little piece because it is not the quantity that counts, but the quality. However, once Quebec's independence would be pronounced, it would be the 18th biggest country in terms of surface on 193 countries. In addition, Quebec counts 8 million of inhabitants. It is more populated than most countries in the world. Ireland, Norway, and Finland are rich territories that are in fact smaller than Quebec itself, and nobody seems to mind it. Also, our population in Quebec could compare to the one in Switzerland and Austria. It would absolutely not be a problem to be powerful or to have a presence like them. About economics. We can definitely survive as a country. We have resources like many infrastructures, access to the international market, and of course, Hydro-Québec. Moreover, according to Maxime Duchesne, in his book Finance d'un Québec indépendant, the fiscal impact of the independence of Quebec in 2016 had only a deficit of 2% of its GDP. I mean, it's very low. The author made a study calculating as if the Quebec would be independent. So these are not real facts, but it's as if. And this result is better than in the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. I would say that the economic aspect would be very well handled in Quebec if we were to become independent. After, Quebec maintains different values beliefs. It is why it would be more ethical that Quebec separate from Canada. A certain amount of the population thinks differently than the people in Canada, and we, Quebec, never have the final word on political, social, economic, or even environmental decisions. Having a separate government could let the Quebecers to make their own choices that Quebec and Canada disagree on. For example, of many things, there is a decision of having pipelines on the territory of Quebec. Of course, this idea comes from Ottawa. In fact, the population of Quebec doesn't really seem in favor of that project. Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, wants to accomplish his plans, hoping that it expands without taking into account the Quebecers' opinion. Trans Mountain is the name of that project, a pipeline that could cross Quebec in its entirety. I quote, as Trudeau said in an interview in La Presse, "The federal government always has the obligation to ensure national interest, and in that way, I have the last word on the projects that are coming through the provinces." After hearing this, do you feel like we're considered and included in the decisions that are made in our territory? I would not say that this is in the nation's interest. This is why, if Quebec would be to separate from Canada and become a country, many things and decisions from the Ottawa's parliament could be avoided or changed. The independence of Quebec is clearly the best thing that could happen for the nation. Finally, on another aspect, to close the debate, I would like to say that it is not a surprise that the Bloc Québécois, a nationalist party that advocates Quebec's independence, had a resurgence in the recent Canadian election. It won 32 seats, making it the third largest party in the House of Commons. I hopefully wish that the race for our independence is not finished. I believe that it is because of people like me, who is a proud Quebecer, that it could be possible. Our generation can make a difference and is aware what is the best for Quebec. I think that Quebec should definitely separate from Canada. Thank you very much, and I hope that you have a clearer vision of our province and its potential to become a country.